One additional module that you can use with Angular is the Sanitize module. This module includes a sanitization service. The sanitization service tries to clean up the HTML you are going to use with ngbind HTML so that that markup only contains safe markup, and then Angular will trust the sanitized version of the markup and render it for us. I'll show you how all this works in a demo, but I do want to provide a caveat that you probably shouldn't rely 100% on sanitization to clean up data that might come from very determined, very malicious users. Just because determined people can find all sorts of loopholes and try to sneak in a cross-site scripting attack. But I would use the approach I'm about to show you if the data is coming from a user that I do trust, perhaps someone in an editor role who works on the website and is adding dynamic content into the database. Let's take a look and I'll show you how this works. What I want to do is install the Sanitize service into my application. I want to do this because ngbind HTML will automatically call into the Sanitize service to make HTML safe and trust that HTML. And just by having the Sanitize service installed, I should be able to then see the title of my recipe, and I should be able to see the word toast emphasized. It just happens implicitly. So the first thing I'll need to do is come into the list of scripts that I have loaded into my page, and I'll need to include the Angular Sanitize script. It's in a separate module, and therefore in a separate script. I have all the core scripts loaded into this folder. I'm just going to drag over Angular Sanitize and fix up the path so that it looks like this. And now pretty much anytime you bring in another Angular dash script, that script will create a different module, and I will need to go into my application where I define the module for my application and also tell Angular that I have a dependency on that particular module. So in this case, the module name is ngsanitize. And now I should be able to just save all my files, come into the application and refresh. And just by having the Sanitize service present, I will get my expected output. Because the directive ngbind HTML, ultimately when it goes to display that HTML, it will pass the HTML through the Sanitize service, which will clean out anything that it thinks is malicious. Basically, it has a white list of what the legal HTML elements are, and also attributes. Then that HTML is marked as safe, and Angular will happily add it into the DOM. So what are the downsides of the Sanitize service? If it's this easy, why might we need some other approach? Well, let me do this. Let me come into the page that displays the recipe title, and let's add an input so that we can easily modify the title. So I'll add an input, type equals text, and bind it with an ngModel directive. Bind it to secret.recipe.title. And let's try a few things out. So refresh this page once again. And there I can see my emphasis. So I could remove the emphasis. I could add the emphasis back in. And that all seems to work well. But what if I put, let's say, an onMouseOver attribute here? OnMouseOver equals alert. And we'll just display an alert that says hit. And now if I try this out, nothing happens. Let's actually look at that element in the Chrome debugger. And I can see that the word toast is inside of emphasis tags, but my onMouseOver attribute is missing. And that's the job of the sanitization service. It's trying to sanitize the HTML to make sure it's safe and remove any script tags or event handlers that might add executable script into the DOM. But what if I really wanted Angular to take whatever I have in the model and place it into the DOM, even if what I have in the model contains script tags or event handlers in the markup? That's when I have to circumvent the sanitization service and be a little more explicit and tell Angular explicitly to trust this HTML. Let's look at that next.